When power is inherited, it comes with a curse. Tommy thought he could handle West Texas, thought he could outsmart rivals and survive the cartel's shadow. But Landman Season 2 doesn't just test his strength. It tears open every weakness he's tried to hide. The question is no longer whether Tommy can hold his empire together. The question is whether he can survive the war that's already closing in on him from every side. Season 2 of Landman wastes no time reminding us that Tommy's world is a fragile empire built on lies, bargains, and betrayals. At the end of Season 1, Monty Miller's death shattered the delicate balance that kept oil politics in West Texas from exploding. In his place, Cammy, Monty's widow, has stepped into the spotlight with a declaration that still burns in the minds of everyone who heard it. "I'm meaner." That wasn't just a line, it was a warning. Cammy is no longer a grieving woman. She is a predator, ready to build her own empire from Monty's ashes. And Tommy, whether he likes it or not, stands in her way. But Cammy is not the only storm brewing on the horizon. Landman introduces the one figure Tommy never expected to face: Pops, his father. Known as the original Landman, Pops isn't a gentle reminder of family roots. He is a force of history, a man forged in decades of hard battles, someone who believes the Norris legacy belongs only to the strongest. For Tommy, Pops' arrival is not a reunion, it's a reckoning. Every choice Tommy has made, every deal he's struck, every compromise he thought was clever, is now under the cold, unblinking judgment of a man who built his empire without hesitation or mercy. Pops doesn't believe in survival through cunning. He believes in dominance through fear and control. And to him, Tommy has grown soft. Too careful, too weak. This father-son conflict isn't quiet, and it isn't sentimental. It's raw, immediate, and dangerous. Pops doesn't step back and watch. He steps forward, stripping away the illusion that Tommy ever truly controlled anything. And suddenly, Tommy isn't just fighting for power. He's fighting for the right to prove he deserves the name he carries. But while Pops represents the crushing weight of legacy, another shadow moves quietly into the story, bringing danger that is far more unpredictable. Billy Bob Thornton's character is the whisper of chaos made flesh. He is tied to the cartel storyline that has been threatening Tommy since Season 1. Thornton doesn't arrive with explosions or loud declarations. He seeps into the cracks like smoke, quiet but suffocating. Where Pops wields history, Thornton wields fear. His presence is a constant reminder that the cartel doesn't negotiate through contracts and handshakes. They negotiate through blood. Every word he speaks feels like a trap, every deal a noose waiting to tighten. And Tommy, already desperate to hold ground against Cammy and Pops, now finds himself pulled deeper into cartel politics than ever before. This is where Landman Season 2 sets its stage, not with a single enemy, but with three forces colliding at once. Cammy hungers for power, Pops demands obedience, and Thornton represents the deadly reach of the cartel. Tommy is no longer the man who thrived in chaos, bending rules to his will. He is now a pawn in a game where every move threatens his family, his legacy, and his life. And what makes this opening chapter so thrilling is that the show doesn't give Tommy room to breathe. The battles don't line up one by one. They crash down together, suffocating him from all sides. The brilliance of the writing is how personal it all feels. These aren't just business rivalries or cartel deals. These are battles that strike at the very heart of Tommy's identity. Pops doesn't just challenge his leadership. He challenges his manhood, his worth, his right to call himself a Landman. Thornton doesn't just push him into cartel politics. He makes it clear that walking away isn't an option. And Cammy doesn't just seek power. She seeks to humiliate Tommy, to show the world that Monty's widow is sharper, stronger, and meaner than anyone gave her credit for. By the time Season 2 begins to unfold, the audience is left holding their breath. Because this isn't just Tommy's story anymore. This is a war for West Texas itself. A war fought with legacies, blood, and betrayal. And at the center of it all stands Tommy, a man who thought he could bend the rules without breaking them. But now, with Pops rewriting the rules, Cammy reshaping Monty's empire, and Thornton tightening the cartel's grip, Tommy faces the deadliest battle of his life. And survival may cost him more than he is willing to pay. The brilliance of Landman lies in how it layers conflict until every thread feels like it could snap at any moment. At first glance, Season 2 might seem like a simple battle for control. Tommy versus Cammy, but beneath that surface, the story is far more dangerous. Cammy isn't just a rival, she's a strategist. Every move she makes is calculated, not to simply beat Tommy, but to dismantle him piece by piece. Where Monty once ruled with power, Cammy rules with perception. She understands that in West Texas, reputation is everything. If she can make Tommy look weak, uncertain, or out of his depth, she doesn't just win the fight, she rewrites the entire narrative of who deserves to lead. That's where the true danger lies. Because Pops, Tommy's father, sees the same weakness in his son that Cammy wants to expose. To Pops, Tommy's inability to crush his enemies outright proves he doesn't have the steel it takes to carry the Norris name. Every hesitation, every attempt at compromise, every moment of doubt, Pops treats them as failures. And his disappointment cuts deeper than any cartel threat or rival scheme. Pops doesn't yell. He doesn't need to. His silence, his stare, his carefully chosen words strike Tommy harder than bullets. And in those moments, Tommy is no longer a Landman. He is a son, standing in the shadow of a man who has never once believed he was enough. This dynamic drives a wedge into every part of Tommy's life. At home, the presence of Pops poisons what little peace remains. Angela, Tommy's wife, sees how the weight of legacy is breaking him down, how the old wounds between father and son reopen with every conversation. She tries to anchor him, reminding him that survival isn't always about dominance. It's about protecting what matters most. But Pops dismisses her as interference, a distraction unworthy of his attention. To him, Angela's voice doesn't belong in the world of oil and blood. And that dismissal cuts Tommy even deeper, because for once, he wants to believe his wife is right. He wants to believe there's another way forward. Yet Pops makes sure he never forgets. Weakness in the oil fields means death. As if that weren't enough, Thornton's character closes in like a shadow Tommy can't shake. Unlike Pops, Thornton doesn't carry the weight of history. He carries the weight of the present moment, sharp, dangerous, and unpredictable. Where Pops demands loyalty to family, Thornton demands submission to fear. And he doesn't need to scream or wave a gun to prove his point. His quiet confidence is enough to unsettle even the strongest men. Every meeting with him feels like walking into a trap, where the walls close in tighter no matter what choice Tommy makes. Thornton is not here to test Tommy's worth. He is here to remind him that the cartel's grip is unbreakable, and stepping out of line isn't just dangerous, it's fatal. This is where Tommy's battle becomes unbearable. He isn't just juggling enemies, he's juggling philosophies. Pops tells him survival comes from dominance, from crushing rivals before they can rise. Thornton tells him survival comes from submission, from knowing his place in a hierarchy of fear. And Cammy tells him survival comes from perception, from playing the long game and controlling the story others believe. 3 different paths, 3 different traps. And Tommy stands at the center, realizing there may not be a right choice, only choices that lead to different kinds of destruction. What makes this section of Season 2 so gripping is the way the pressure builds without release. There is no quiet moment, no calm before the storm. The storm is already here, and it's unrelenting. Every conversation carries hidden daggers. Every silence feels like a loaded gun. And Tommy, the man who once thrived in chaos, starts to crack under the weight of forces too powerful to balance. In Season 1, his cunning and ability to bend the rules made him dangerous. But in Season 2, those same traits make him vulnerable. Because Pops doesn't respect cunning, Thornton doesn't allow negotiation, and Cammy doesn't believe in compromise. For the audience, the thrill isn't just watching these battles unfold, it's watching Tommy unravel. The strength we admired in Season 1 now feels fragile, as if every decision will either betray his family, destroy his empire, or cost him his life. That's why the suspense works so perfectly, because we're not just asking whether Tommy can win. We're asking how much he can lose before there's nothing left of him to save. But what makes Tommy's journey in this season truly terrifying is not just the pressure from outside forces, it's the enemy growing within. His decisions are beginning to fracture the people closest to him. Friends he once trusted, allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with him, now question whether his vision is worth the cost. The once unshakable loyalty around Tommy begins to crack, and suddenly every conversation feels like a trap, every handshake feels like a test, and every shadow hides the possibility of betrayal. The danger isn't just coming from the oil fields or the rival companies, it's coming from inside his own circle. Tommy knows that in this world, money and power can change people overnight. Promises are broken the moment a better deal is offered. He finds himself cornered between maintaining control and trusting those who claim to support him. Yet, deep down, Tommy realizes a chilling truth. Trust is the most dangerous gamble he can make. Every wrong step could cost him not just his empire, but his life. The suspense builds as we watch him navigate a maze of lies, deception, and shifting allegiances. With each passing episode, the tension tightens, leaving us to wonder, who will stand by Tommy and who will stab him in the back when the stakes are highest? And while betrayal looms on the horizon, there's another storm brewing. Tommy's battles are no longer confined to the oil business. They've reached his personal life. The choices he's made to protect his empire are beginning to haunt the people he loves. They become targets, unwilling players in a deadly game they never asked to be a part of. For Tommy, this is the deadliest price of power. The people he swore to protect are now in danger because of him. Suddenly, his fight is not just about survival in the industry, it's about survival at home. This dual war, one in the boardroom and one at the dinner table, tears him apart in ways no enemy could. As if that wasn't enough, the world around him begins to close in. Rival companies strengthen their hold, politicians sharpen their knives, and enemies multiply with every move he makes. Each victory comes at a devastating cost, and each loss cuts deeper than the last. Tommy is caught in a relentless storm where every decision leads to another sacrifice. The suspense becomes unbearable because it's no longer about whether he can win. It's about how much he will lose before the end of this battle. The brilliance of this season lies in its unpredictability. Just when Tommy seems to have outsmarted his enemies, a new twist shatters the ground beneath him. Just when he finds hope, it slips away like oil through his fingers. Every moment is a reminder that in the ruthless world he inhabits, nothing is permanent. Neither power, nor allies, nor even safety. This is what makes Landman Season 2 so gripping. It forces us to live on the edge with Tommy, never certain what the next turn will bring, but always aware that it could be his last. The deeper Tommy goes into this war, the clearer it becomes that he is fighting battles on too many fronts. The oil fields may be the heart of the conflict, but the poison has spread everywhere. Politics, business, even family. Each step forward feels like walking across thin ice, where one wrong move could send him plunging into a darkness he can't escape. The walls are closing in, and Tommy knows that time is not on his side. Enemies are multiplying, resources are shrinking, and betrayal could come from any direction. In this chaos, he begins to realize that survival will require more than brute strength. It will demand sacrifices he may not be ready to make. But what truly raises the stakes this season is the psychological war. Tommy's mind becomes his most dangerous battlefield. He's haunted by the weight of the past, by the faces of those he couldn't save, and by the crushing knowledge that every victory leaves another scar. Sleep becomes a rare luxury, peace an impossible dream. Every sound at night feels like a threat, every silence a warning. The paranoia is suffocating, but in a world where betrayal hides in plain sight, paranoia may be his only shield. This internal torment makes his journey far more gripping, because his deadliest enemy may not be the rivals hunting him, but the doubts clawing away inside his own head. Meanwhile, his empire begins to feel the cracks. Deals collapse, allies disappear, and whispers of rebellion echo through the ranks. The same men and women who once cheered his victories now question his leadership. Some fear his methods, others envy his power. And as these cracks widen, Tommy faces the terrifying possibility of losing everything he built, not to outsiders, but to those who once swore loyalty to him. It's a test of endurance, of willpower, and of strategy. But above all, it's a test of trust. And Tommy knows that trust could kill him faster than any bullet. As the season unfolds, a chilling theme begins to dominate: sacrifice. Tommy is forced to confront impossible choices. Protect his family or protect his empire, expose a traitor or risk losing control, take the ruthless path or hold on to the last shred of humanity he has left. Each decision feels like a blade cutting deeper, and each sacrifice leaves him more isolated than before. Viewers are left on edge, wondering just how far Tommy is willing to go and what pieces of himself he's willing to lose in order to survive. The suspense only intensifies when new enemies emerge, figures more dangerous, more unpredictable, and more ruthless than anything Tommy has faced before. They don't just want his land or his business. They want to dismantle him completely, piece by piece, until nothing remains. Their attacks are calculated, relentless, and personal. This is no longer a game of business. It's a war of annihilation. And for Tommy, every episode feels like standing on the edge of destruction, fighting against a storm he may not be able to contain. In the end, Landman Season 2 grips us with one burning question: how much can a man endure before he finally breaks? Tommy's journey is no longer just about survival, it's about transformation. The man who walked into this season is not the same man who will walk out. But whether that transformation leads to victory or to ruin, that is the suspense that keeps us glued to the screen, breathless, waiting for the next revelation. As the storm reaches its breaking point, Tommy finds himself staring at the harsh reality he's been trying to outrun. Every decision, every alliance, every ruthless move has brought him to this moment. The enemies he has made are no longer lurking in the shadows. They are right in front of him, ready to strike. And the truth is undeniable. This is not just another battle for land or power. This is the deadliest fight of his life, and there is no turning back. The world he built, the empire he commands, and the family he loves are all caught in the crossfire. But in the chaos, something inside Tommy hardens. The fear that once haunted him is burned away by resolve. He understands now that survival won't come from playing the game by their rules. It will come from rewriting the rules entirely. For Tommy, this is no longer about deals or diplomacy. This is war, and war demands a kind of ruthlessness that leaves no room for hesitation. The season pushes him to embrace the side of himself he has long tried to deny, the side that is willing to sacrifice everything. Even his own soul, if that's what it takes to win. Still, the suspense lies in the cost of that choice. Because every step Tommy takes toward victory pushes him further away from the man he once was. The season forces viewers to ask, at what point does survival stop being worth it? At what point does power become a prison? With every passing moment, we see a man stripped bare by the weight of his decisions, carrying scars that will never heal. The tension is not just in whether he will survive, it's in what kind of man will survive if he does. And then comes the ultimate twist, the revelation that changes everything. Just when Tommy believes he has cornered his enemies, just when he thinks the board is under his control, the ground shifts beneath him. A betrayal more shocking than anything he anticipated tears through his world, proving once again that in this deadly game, no one can ever be fully trusted. It's a moment that doesn't just threaten his empire, it threatens his very life. And it sets the stage for a finale that is both heartbreaking and explosive. What makes this climax unforgettable is the way it balances triumph with tragedy. Tommy may outwit his enemies, but victory feels hollow when the cost is unbearable. The people he loses, the trust that shatters, and the humanity he sacrifices leave a wound that power can't heal. It's the kind of ending that leaves the audience breathless, not because everything is resolved, but because the questions it raises linger long after the screen goes dark. Questions about loyalty, about survival, and about how far a man can fall before there's nothing left to save. In the end, Landman Season 2 isn't just Tommy's deadliest battle, it's his defining one. The suspense, the betrayals, the sacrifices, and the haunting choices all collide to paint a portrait of a man who has been forged in fire, but at a price that may consume him entirely. And as the credits roll, one thought lingers in the minds of viewers. If this is what Tommy had to endure this season, what could possibly come next? And so, as the dust settles on Tommy's journey in Season 2, one truth becomes clear. This is not just another chapter in his story, this is the battle that will shape his destiny forever. We've seen him claw his way through betrayal, navigate the deadly world of oil and politics, and sacrifice more than most men could ever bear. But in doing so, Tommy has stepped into a darker, more dangerous version of himself, a man who is both feared and admired, both powerful and broken. The brilliance of Landman lies in how it doesn't just give us action, it gives us heart-pounding suspense mixed with the brutal reality of choices no one should have to make. Season 2 doesn't just test Tommy's empire, it tests his soul. And while he may have survived this battle, the question remains, what has survival truly cost him? The scars are not just on his body or his business, they're etched into his very identity. He is not the same man we met before, and that transformation is as unsettling as it is gripping. But here's the haunting thought that lingers as the season closes. If this was his deadliest battle yet, what lies ahead in the storms still to come? Enemies may have fallen, but others will rise. Alliances may have shifted, but betrayal never stays buried for long. And Tommy himself, how long can he keep walking this razor's edge before even he can no longer hold it all together? The suspense is not over. It's only evolving into something bigger, something darker, and something far more dangerous. That's the power of Landman. It makes us question what we would do in Tommy's place. Would we fight to hold on to everything, no matter the cost? Or would we break under the weight of sacrifice? These are the questions that stay with us, pulling us deeper into this story even after the credits roll. And that's why Season 2 is more than entertainment. It's a ruthless, gripping ride through the price of power and the deadly cost of survival. So as we step away from this season, one thing is certain: Tommy's journey is far from over. If he has endured this much, then the battles waiting for him in the future will be even more ruthless, even more shocking, and even more unforgettable. The suspense is alive, the danger is rising, and the fight is only just beginning. Because in the world of Landman, there are no easy victories, no permanent allies, and no safe havens. There are only battles, and the men strong enough or desperate enough to fight them. And Tommy, he may be bloodied, scarred, and haunted, but one thing is undeniable: he's still standing. And as long as he stands, the war is far from over.